Broadcasting live from the New Creations Weight Loss Studio in Little Rock, it's Crime Chronicle Live with your host, Val Emmons.
Hello, everyone. I'm Val Emmons, and today on the Crime Chronicle Live, we have some local things to talk about, including the trial of Josh Hastings, which the jury is currently deliberating on as we speak. And now I would like to hear your opinion on this trial so far. So the phone lines are open. The number you can call in on is 501-433-0092. Again, 501-433-0092. So let's just go over a little bit of this case. I haven't talked about it because I've been waiting for all of the evidence to be presented by the prosecuting attorney and the defense attorney. And so basically, Josh Hastings, who's a former Little Rock police officer, who's been all over the news this week. Apparently, the prosecution is focusing on the damages or lack thereof to the vehicle that the 15-year-old boy was driving, who is Bobby Moore Jr. Bobby Moore III, was driving when he was shot once in the finger. So that bullet went through and hit him in the armpit. And then he was also shot in the side of his head. The prosecuting attorney is saying that he was turning his head to back up because what Josh Hastings is saying is that Moore was trying to go forward and run him over, and so that's why he shot at him. But the two other suspects that were in the car with him, who were also teenagers, told a different story, that Moore was backing up and had put the car in reverse. So there's a lot of things here, and I'll read some of the hot button things that went down in the trial over the last week. But the two other boys that were in the vehicle at the time of the incident also were burglarizing people's cars in the neighborhood. Now, I didn't catch whether Moore was just waiting for them, or if he had been also, looked upon as the burglar of these vehicles in that neighborhood at 4:00 in the morning. Now, I want to know what kids out at 4:00 in the morning burglarizing people's vehicles. Do you not know where your children are? This is why we need to know where our children are at all times. A 15-year-old out burglarizing this, and people are looking down on this police officer. Everywhere you read, people are making these terrible comments about this police officer, how he shot this kid. He had no right to shoot this kid. Well, yeah, it's bad. It's emotional. The kid shouldn't have died. But he also shouldn't have been out there doing what he was doing. Just the same as I'll say about Forrest Abrams, who we're going to talk about later on, because Daryl Dennis, who was released when he shouldn't have been, Forrest Abrams was trying to buy drugs from him. From what I heard, from what I've been told, he was, apparently trying to buy drugs. You shouldn't be doing those things. And this is anything. If I can tell anybody anything out there, please just don't. If you're not in the place where you shouldn't be, and you're not doing the things you shouldn't be doing, then these things wouldn't happen. And you, as a parent, need to make sure that you know where your kids are so these things don't happen as well. Now, I understand if your kids are 18 and if your kid sneaks out or something like that, but I'm sorry. If you look at this kid, Bobby Moore III, there's a memorial page set up on his not on his Facebook, but one of his friends had made a memorial page. And there are photos of him, and they're doing just as all these other kids were, like Deontay Edison, from the young man who was 18 years old who shot Christian Hayes at the mall, Park Plaza Mall, doing gang signs with fists full of cash, and just looking like they're living this thuggery life. And you want me to believe these two suspects who were in the car because they had just committed crimes of burglary. You want me to believe their story over a police officer's story. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some things in Hastings' past that are quite shady as well, and we'll get to that. Not going to leave those things out. He'd been suspended quite a few times, but not ever for something this significant. He'd never been, suspended for, killing someone or any of that nature. So now some of these things were kind of just stupid, in my opinion. He's not that bright, obviously. But did he, the question here lies, is did he kill this boy and not use his judgment But I'm sorry if I'm not trained as a police officer, but if I'm out in the middle of 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's dark, and I see headlights, and they had been coming at me. They said he stopped, but they had been coming at me. I'd be scared the car was going to hit me too. I mean, he's human. He's a human being, just as well as these kids were. And these kids were out committing crimes. Anyway, so the question remains in the case, as far as I'm concerned, such as why is the testimony of the two suspects who were in the midst of committing a crime weigh more heavily against the police officer who responded to a call about 3 burglars at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I want to read this article here. So this one says, a former Little Rock police officer who shot and killed a 15-year-old burglary suspect testified at his manslaughter trial on Thursday, telling jurors that contrary to what prosecutors would have them believe, the boy was driving at him when he fired his gun. 2 friends who were in the car, Bobby Moore III, who was driving last August when Josh Hastings shot him twice and killed him, testified earlier that the car was stopped or was stopping when Hastings opened fire. Hastings, who is 27 years old, said that wasn't the case and that he fired because the car was bearing down on him. So he said he was screaming, "I'm a Little Rock police, stop the vehicle. Little Rock police, stop the vehicle," Hastings said, and his voice rising in the courtroom. This is what the Arkansas Democrat Gazette had reported from this week. So the vehicle was trying to run him over, he says, and it was traveling directly towards him. He said he opened fire when it was about 5 feet in front of him and that the car continued at the same speed up an embankment before rolling backward off of it. So he said he didn't have a choice. But during cross-examination, Chief Deputy Prosecutor John Johnson asked Hastings why he had to fire his gun at all, since he managed to avoid getting hit by the car that he says never slowed down. So what did you accomplish other than killing Bobby Moore, Johnson asked. Protecting my life is what I did, Hastings replied. Prosecutors contend that Moore had stopped the car or was even starting to back up when Hastings killed him, and that there was no evidence that the car went up in the embankment and rolled back down as Hastings claims. Before resting their case Thursday, prosecutors called to witness Dr. Daniel Dye, a forensic pathologist from the state crime lab. He testified that Moore died instantly from a shot to the left side of his head, a couple of inches above his ear, and that this was consistent with the claims that Moore was looking over his right shoulder as he sat behind the wheel. An earlier shot went through his left middle finger and entered his chest, stopping near an armpit. So defense attorney Bill James asked Dye if the impact of the first bullet that struck Moore, which struck his hand and then his chest, could have caused his head to turn to the side. Dye said it could have, and asked by prosecutors whether it was more likely that Moore was looking backwards when he was shot or recoiled to that position. Dye said he couldn't say with certainty. Explanations were plausible. So after prosecutors rested their case, James's Hastings attorney, asked Circuit Judge Wendell Griffin to declare Hastings not guilty on the grounds that prosecutors failed to present sufficient evidence. He denied the request, agreeing with prosecutors that the jury should decide the case. So manslaughter carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Now, again, I want to get y'all's opinion out there in Little Rock, or, this is something that is very controversial right now. The number is 501-433-0092 if you would like to weigh in and give us your opinion, because I have my opinion, but it's kind of, I'm a mother, and I can't imagine my 15-year-old being shot down by a police officer, but I also can't imagine my kid stealing anything and burglarizing people's cars, because he wasn't raised that way. And I know people raise their kids just well, and they turn out, to be little thugs anyway. But I don't know. So a closer look into the criminal records revealed that 15-year-old shot and killed by Hastings was to face adult charges last summer. So relatives of Bobby Moore didn't shy away from telling news reporters that he had been involved in criminal activity and was free on a $100,000 bond, though I don't know what that was for. But the kid is not a prodigal son, and from the pictures that I saw on Facebook posted by another one after his death, he was obviously a gangbanger. And you can find those Facebook pictures on my page at www.facebook.com/Val Emmons. So the thing that really struck me odd about this case was that Circuit Judge Wendell Griffin turned away notions by Hastings' attorney seeking clearance to say at trial that the car the three suspects were driving was actually stolen. It had been reported stolen 2 days before this incident, and that a .40 caliber handgun, marijuana, and a marijuana pipe were found in the vehicle. He also wanted to be able to describe the criminal records of Moore and the two other juvenile teens in the car. Their request was denied. Are you freaking kidding me? The request was denied. So Chief Assistant Prosecutor John Johnson said admitting the negative evidence about Moore would put the victim on trial, which is not what this is about. This is exactly what this is about. I'm flabbergasted at that comment. I mean, why are we protecting criminals now and not our law enforcement officers? What if they would have killed Hastings by running over him? You know, why would a police officer even try to protect us if he's going to risk his going to prison to do so? I mean, you cannot put this on police officers that was just responding to try to do his job. Now, his attorney said not allowing the background about the use would just create the impression for jurors that the teenagers were just little boys driving around at 4 a.m. in the morning breaking into cars. Exactly. So one passenger was adjudicated, the juvenile court equivalent of being found guilty, of breaking and entering and aggravated assault. The other on terroristic threatening charges. But we are to believe their story and not the police officers. So Hastings' attorney argued that if the tables were turned and the youths in the car had been charged with trying to harm an officer, their records would be admissible in court. But Judge Griffin said details about what was in the car and the background of the people in it didn't reflect on whether Hastings had acted recklessly. We're talking about something that's not really relevant, he said. Not relevant? Again, are you freaking kidding me? This is all relevant. I mean, why were they out there at 4 o'clock in the morning? Hastings was sent there because someone called saying they were committing crimes. He showed up and he was doing his job. Yes, this boy got shot, but the kid should have stopped immediately and got out of the car along with the other two. But the other two got out and ran as soon as the other one, they were apprehended later, obviously, but they ran. If they would have just stopped what they were doing, they would have their lives. And this would not be going on. 4 lives have been ruined here. 4 lives. 4. What are we teaching our children? Because if you read some of these, if you go to that memorial from my page, it's this memorial to Bobby Moore III, you know, and they're cussing out the cop, saying he's lying about what Bobby did. The kid was burglarizing. How can you lie about that? How can you lie about that? The police officers are there to protect and to serve. So, I mean, I can't see that I would ever want to be a police officer. You know, because you're always going to put yourself at risk, whether you do the right thing or not. And even if 2 criminals come and say, well, no, that's not true. You know, we were out robbing stuff, but that cop, he was wrong. That's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, maybe he was wrong, okay, but I'm just saying from this point, it looks like you would believe the police officer, not the 2 suspects. Hello, we have someone on the line. How are you?
Good. How are you today?
I'm fantastic.
Hey, look, I'm tired of hearing about these kids or whatever, victims because something happened to them. When I was growing up, my parents would told me if I got into trouble, especially 14 years old, what are they doing at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Exactly.
Their parents ought to be kicking that son's butt. He'd be alive today. And I put them on trial.
Exactly.
Because that son belonged at home. And I'm sorry. I can't feel sorry for what happened. I guess I should be sorry for the parents.
Right.
But they need to, parents got to be responsible. Their sons don't know much at all until they're about 18 years old.
They don't even know it then.
And not then either. So I'm tired of hearing about this. And if that was my vehicle that got burglarizing, I'd be really in fist shape, okay? So I'm sorry to the parents. I'm sorry that happened, but you were responsible for your kid and why you didn't have him at home. And if he's been doing other things, man, he should have been at home under the lock and key by the father.
Where was the father? I haven't heard anything about the father, but
whoever responsible for the kid.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I feel sorry for the parents because I'm a parent of teenagers, and I can't imagine. But I also know where my kids are, and I know they're not. They've snuck out on me before, and they got the belt. I'm sorry, I'll say it. I got the belt. Come at me. Come on.
When my kids were at home, I knew where they were at, and I knew where they were going.
That's right, exactly.
And that was until they left the home and they were gone legally. I was responsible for them, and they better have not done anything. They were good kids, okay? And I would expect the parent, whoever was responsible for this kid, to have done the same thing for them. They failed that person, especially when they got into trouble the first time. Man, that should have been an eye opener, and they should have been after that kid.
No kidding.
And beating his butt and keeping him at home until...
And obviously he didn't learn from any of it because he was out doing this stuff.
Yep, I agree.
Well,
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So, you have a good day now.
Thank you, John.
Bye now.
All right, we're going to go to Mac. Mac, how are you?
Fine, how you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Good, Val. Hey, will you do something for me?
Okay.
The whole thing, is it's a bad deal all the way around.
Yeah, I agree.
And I agree with everything that the previous caller said, and I agree with you. And do you know about Judge Wendell Griffith?
No.
Do you know very much about him?
No, I don't. How about you tell me something about him that I don't know?
Well, I'm going to depend on you to correct me if I'm wrong, and you don't have to do it in a second. But
right.
I believe that's the whole problem there. Some of the things he said he wasn't going to accept is just ridiculous.
Oh, I know. Like, why wouldn't you? Yeah, why would not you accept that they were what was in the car first of all, which means their intent.
Yeah, the gun.
They had a gun. Yes.
The drugs. Yeah, 4:00 in the morning, and but the judge, in my opinion, do a little research on him, and I think you'll find that interesting.
I will do that.
Thanks, Val. You're doing a good job.
Awesome.
Thank you. My call. Bye.
Bye-bye. And we have Nettie. How are you, Nettie?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I just want, those people who think that the parent did such a horrible job in raising her son, I want them to just imagine, and I want you to do likewise, to imagine that you crossed every T, dotted every I as far as raising your child, and they still ended up the way they ended up. And they were out, and the same situation happened to them, and the police killed them. So, and I hear, and I don't know if you're laughing intentionally, and I know you're not doing it on purpose, but, to me, you're taking this real lightly. This child is dead.
Yes, he is
and
dead.
The police, and it's like what he did, and I know even if he was coming toward him, you're not telling me that...
How do we know that he knew that kid was only 14, 15 years old in that car?
No, it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
99.
If someone was coming at you with a car, ma'am...
Listen, can I speak, please? And then you can have...
This is my show. I will let you speak.
I understand.
Yes.
I understand.
And I did say that I know, as a mother, I've done everything that I can to raise my child, but I don't guess you heard that part. And they can turn out as little thugs.
Right,
yes, I know that. And I know that. And I already said that.
If the police killed them when they were in their thuggish ways, then that's what they deserve. That's what you're saying, right?
No, I'm saying you cannot hold this police officer and put him in prison when he was doing his job. He didn't know who was in that car. It was 4:00 in the morning, and it was dark, and he had headlights pointed at him.
You're not telling me that they weren't trained. That
Do you think if you had a gun in your hand?
I'm not even a policeman, but if their car is coming toward me, I'm getting the hell up out the way, okay? And I don't care what you say.
People get hit all the time by cars, ma'am. People die by cars all the time. You don't always get out of the way.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. If you get out the way, that's one thing. But this is what I'm saying. The police, if you saw a car coming towards you, and he's a policeman, you're telling me that they haven't been trained that if a car is coming towards you...
He's a human being. The first thing
that you just shoot whoever is behind the wheel.
The first thing that I would do if a car was coming at me was shoot. I don't know who's in that car. And if someone calls and says there's 3 people burglarizing cars in the neighborhood, I don't know what they're going to do. Now, for you to, I bet when something happens in your neighborhood, you call your police officer and you depend on them to come out there and protect you, which is what Officer Hastings was doing.
For them to kill somebody.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Nettie. Appreciate it. We'll go to Bill. How are you, Bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
I tell you, I was a prosecutor for quite a number of years, and when a police officer goes to investigate, and you do the post-investigation examination, you look and see, okay, what was reasonable? Everybody gets to look at what happened as if it's in slow motion. Everybody gets to look at it
Afterwards,
like,
yes.
well, okay, how many seconds was it? Here's this officer who is investigating,
Split
and here
second.
comes this car, and look, it's called the anticipation of deadly physical force against a policeman.
Thank you.
And then he gets under the law to use appropriate deadly force to stop it. And, of course, people talk about Wendell Griffin. Wendell Griffin, to me, and this is my opinion, is the biggest racist in this town. Anytime he gets a chance, he would attack conservatives. When he ran for judge, he is the most left individual I've ever met or have ever known in my life. But back to the police officer. It's what you call reasonable under the circumstances. And if the officer thought that it was reasonable for him to use deadly force, and that's why there's a trial.
Right.
Because the jury's going to get to look at it.
But they didn't get to look at it the way they should have gotten to look at it. Because these boys had a gun in the car, they had pot in the car, they had prior records. One of them was being charged as an adult. And all you see is these little boys. That's it.
Well, of course. And the reason why he kept it out is because he doesn't want the police officer acquitted. I mean, let's be honest about it.
So I can't figure that one out. I can't figure that one out.
He's an advocate. He is an advocate for individuals who do not like police. He's always been that way, in my opinion. And I hope, and I think from looking at the police reports and from looking at the trial reports, that this officer had reasonable cause to believe that some deadly physical force in terms of 3 persons and an automobile were about to hit him. And in that case, just like you said, Ms. Emmons, you would use physical force to ward off that. We should expect nothing more from the police.
That's right.
I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Val Emmons. Do you have a business? Are you part of a nonprofit? Do you want to reach tens of thousands of loyal and informed consumers? Well, advertising on this radio show is more effective and affordable than you could ever imagine. Please call me 870-897-7716 or email me ccvalemmons@gmail.com to learn how you can have your business or organization's message heard on Crime Chronicle Live. That number again is 870-897-7716. Give me a call today.
Don's Weaponry has been taking care of sportsmen for over 20 years. At Don's, you have a huge selection of new and used pistols and rifles, police trade-ins, holsters, scopes, ammo, reloading supplies, magazines, and more. 6,000 square feet of inventory, including a 7-lane pistol range open 7 days a week. Smith & Wesson, Taurus, Ruger, Kimber, Springfield Armory, Glock, Walther, and more. Stop by Don's Weaponry, 4116 East Broadway in Rose City for everything the hunter and shooter needs.
For people with Identity Guard identity theft protection, life is good. Really good. That's because they bank and shop on their computers and mobile devices knowing Identity Guard is there to protect them. Right now, you can get Identity Guard for less than $1 a day. Sign up at identityguard.com/dollar. Act now and get free protection for your kids, the latest targets for identity thieves. That's identityguard.com/dollar. Identity Guard. Life is good.
Special message from Lumber Liquidators.
It's inventory time, and we'd rather sell our flooring than count it. That means every floor in every store is on sale at our end-of-quarter clearance sale. Save up to 54% versus comparable floors at big box stores, like pre-finished hardwood from just 99 cents a square foot, beautiful bamboo from $139, plus incredible deals on our best laminates, vinyl wood plank, cork. Every floor is on sale and gets special financing. Don't miss it. End-of-quarter clearance is going on now. Visit lumberliquidators.com or get to your local store today.
Local restaurants, shops, salons, and more with savings of 50 to 90% every time. Live more, spend less. Download the mobile app now.
Now that's a real sweet deal.
Sweetjack.com.
Have you picked up your Crime Chronicle this week? Crime Chronicle is the Central Arkansas publication for crime-related news. Pick up your copy today at any convenience store or gas station near you. You can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook/Crime Chronicle.
Pick up your copy of the Crime Chronicle today because you have a right to know.
Welcome back to the Crime Chronicle Live. I'm Val Emmons, and we got a weather report for you guys out there.
That's right. We just got this in from the National Weather Service. Severe thunderstorm warning for central Pulaski County here in central Arkansas until 5 o'clock. At 4:23 Central Daylight Time, a National Weather Service operator indicated a severe thunderstorm capable of producing damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. This storm was located about 3 miles north of southwest Little Rock and moving north at about 10 miles per hour. Location impacted include West Little Rock, Maumelle, Pinnacle Mountain, Marsh, All Valley, Burns Park, Natural Steps, and Kamak Village. This includes Interstate 40 between mile markers 144 and 150. It also includes Interstate 430 between mile markers 3 and 12. And it includes Interstate 630 between mile markers 3 and 7. Severe thunderstorms produce, of course, damaging wind in excess of 60 miles per hour, destructive hail, deadly lightning, and very heavy rain. For your protection, move to an interior room at the lowest floor of your home or business. Heavy rains, flooding in some low-lying areas could quickly develop, so do not drive into areas where water covers the road. Again, this special weather advisory is a thunderstorm warning in effect for central Pulaski County until 5 o'clock this evening. I'm Mike Kemp in the KARN News Center.
Thank you, Mike. All right, so if you'd like to weigh in again on this Officer Hastings trial that's going on, the number's 501-433-0092. And don't worry, nothing you say can offend me. I got a tough skin. But let's go ahead and get your comments on that. And it's fun. I just told my son. My son went to the lake. Both my boys are at the lake, see, because I know where they are. And I told them, it looks like it's going to rain. And they went with their dad, and he was like, there's nothing on the radar, and we're going to go ahead and go. And now it's thunderstorming. I'm like, get out of the water. Anyway, so now that we've gone over everything about Bobby Moore Jr. and his accomplices, Bobby Moore Jr. is the 15-year-old child that Josh Hastings is in trial for shooting him. So now we're going to talk about Josh Hastings' record because I don't want to be biased about this. He has a past record. So according to police records, Hastings was suspended for 15 days earlier this year, last year, when he was found sleeping in his patrol car back in March of 2011. Yes. So in August of 2011, Hastings was dealt a one-day suspension for not running audio and video equipment while he drove the suspect in his cruiser. Between May 2011 and November 2011, Hastings was suspended for 6 days for not attending court hearings, which resulted in 6 drunken driving prosecutions being scuttled or delayed. They didn't go set free, they just got delayed. The agency suspended him for 10 days in 2010 for responding to a call outside of his district. A year before, he was sent home for a day for crashing a patrol car. He had another one-day suspension in 2008 for wrongly identifying a suspect and not properly logging documents in the case. But none of these things that he was suspended for were as serious as this right here. Do I know what went through his head at the time? No, I don't. And I don't think anybody does. And I don't think anybody wants to be put in that position. I don't think that you can say what you would do in that position. I mean, yes, he was a police officer. Yes, he's trained, but you can only have so much training before you have to realize that people are human beings. And when they think in a split second that their life is on the line, you're going to do what comes to mind the first. And he didn't know who was in that car. I mean, he didn't know who was coming at him with the headlights on. He told them to stop, and they didn't stop. Anyway, so we've got Karen on the line. Hi, Karen. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I'm fantastic.
Good. Okay, I'd just like to say this. First of all, I think he was defending his life, too. And I don't think that Judge Griffith is allowing him a fair trial by suppressing evidence that shows that those teenagers had a criminal background. I don't think he's getting a fair trial. He might want to ask for a change of venue, but I think he was defending his life too. And they were in the thug type world if they were out at 4 o'clock in the morning stealing and stuff. So I'm on his side, and I think Judge Griffith should not suppress that evidence. Thank you very much.
You're
you
welcome.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you go to my Facebook page, I posted today a memorial that one of his friends had put up for him, and you can see he's flashing cash. I mean, 20s, like probably a couple $100. Yeah, and that too. Did you say that on the air? Oh, it was. He was flashing the condoms in the air too, and you know, peace gang signs, not the peace sign. I'm sorry, gang sign. I'm not sure which is it's the crip of their bloods. I can't tell anymore. But so he was living the life of thuggery and not learning his lesson. Now, should he have died? No. He should have taken. He should not have been on that $100,000 bond. He should have been watched. He should have had an ankle bracelet on him. I mean, $100,000 bond and being charged as an adult. Why was his mother not watching what he was doing? My kids would have been locked in the closet. Anyway, Antonio in Little Rock.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
I don't know a lot about this case. I only heard bits and pieces from what I heard. I don't know if I think I heard on the news or something that the teenager was bagging away from the officer. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's what the two suspects in the car with him that were also burglarizing said.
Well, my thing is also, I mean, the kids, yeah, they shouldn't have been out at 4 o'clock or whatever time it was in the morning. My grandfather always told me nothing happens good after 12 o'clock.
That's true.
You know, there's nobody out at that time but the bad guys in the car.
There's a curfew.
And so, you know, I live in Southwest Little Rock, and my house been burglarized twice, and this whole neighborhood is just upset because, you know, these kids wait till we get out, you know, we go to work, and then they break in your home. And, you know, my thing now, this officer don't seem like he have a good record either. I mean, look.
Right. But he's never killed anybody before. I mean, he fell asleep. He reminds me of Barney Fife. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know, but little things starts to add up. You know, if he's, you know, not all well put together or something, or, you know, maybe he needs some more training or something. You know, I'm not condoning what those guys did. I'm not, you know, I don't know the whole story, but the thing is, you know, all we want is fairness. You know, there's been a history of, you know, cops and young black men. You know, I'm 38 years old, and I went through not through a lot with cops, but, you know, it's being pulled over and harassed for no reason. And, you know, there's a history of that. So, you know, we have to be kind of skeptical of what was going on in his mind and these kids' minds, too. You know,
right.
So, but all we want is fairness. All we want is, you know, if it was proved that he didn't, you know, that it wasn't.
But do you think the information about what they had in their car should have been left out? There was a .40 caliber gun. There was weed, a pipe, and their also their previous records were not admissible in court.
Well, I think it shouldn't. I mean, you know, the weed thing. You know, kids gonna do that. You know, I don't think it's right. You know, but they're gonna
do it.
Though? I mean,
a gun.
You know, a gun, that's different. You know,
and they're committing a crime.
And if they have a criminal record, they need to, you know, we need to. A lot of the things though that are happening in Little Rock is because a lot of these kids, I believe, don't have anything to do. They need some type of program that'll help them stay focused with school and college and positive things. But you know, there's not a lot out here for them to do. I mean, they can be working. They need to get a job. But you know, I think there's a lot more that we can do as adults to make sure these kids maybe have something to do during the summertime. Make sure they don't turn a life of crime.
At 4 o'clock in the morning, what should you be doing?
Well,
what should you be doing? Exactly.
You know, or at work. I drive trucks for Coleman Dairy, Highland Dairy now. And
you're out early.
I'm out at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So, but that's, you know, I'm working.
Right.
But, you know, the thing is that, you know, they said statistics, and statistics could be wrong, you know, but they said that during the summertime that African-American males have a hard time of finding jobs. So maybe we need to tackle that. Why? What is it? What's going on to give them, for them not to be getting hired on jobs?
Well, I can tell you that of all these pictures that I look for all these kids that are in these gangs and stuff, there ain't no way they're going to be making the kind of money they're making while they're out there on the street stealing and thieving and selling weed and selling dope because they got hundreds of dollars You know,
well,
I mean,
that's the wrong. That's a negative. That's a negative perception, and
but they're not even going to try to find a job if they're making more money doing what they're doing.
Well, and the thing, maybe, you know, a lot of them, you know, a lot of fathers maybe wasn't in the household to kind of show them that, hey, you know, working hard and getting things the right way.
I am a full-time single mom.
Yeah.
And my kids know the right way.
Yeah, and I'm a full-time single father, and I preach to my kids every single day.
That's right.
On you know, get things the right way. Go to work. You know, if you want something, come ask me. You don't have to take it. You know.
Oh,
and I mean, that's a violation. That, you know, we're getting broken to your house and your cars and everything. I mean, that's, you know, you feel violated from that.
I know.
And you know, so my thing is, maybe, you know, I'm as an African American man, I try to talk to the young guys out here and tell them, hey, you know, that, you know, there's more out here in life than stealing and robbing and committing crimes. You know, what if you get to be my age and then you want to have a family and you want to straighten up your life and you got felonies on your record? Nobody is going to hire you.
And then you got to start all over at 40 years old.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm not going to
never too late.
But it's going to be 10 times harder if you would have just kept your nose clean, went to school, went to college, got your degree, got your good job, and did things the right way. I mean, it's easy to get in trouble, but it's hard to get out of it.
Thank you, Antonio. I got to get to the next caller.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Matt, you're on live, Crime Chronicle Live.
Well, hey, thanks for taking my call. My concern was, and I'm not as familiar with the whole specifics of the case as maybe some of the other callers, but I've had, I had a run-in not too long ago with we'll call him a rogue police officer. It was over a littering violation where my mother was behind me. She's from out of town. We were going to a little deli to get a Coke and visit, and I had thrown a little piece of paper out of my window, and this guy did a U-turn behind me and flipped his lights on and came tearing down the road. And I thought, well, I better get out of the way. He's responding to something bad happened. And so I'm trying to pull off the road. My mother's following me, and he's trying to get in behind me, not her, and he put her in the ditch, and she's disabled, and came up to the driver's side window with his fists clenched and demanded used profanity for littering his highway. And long story short, there are some people out there carrying guns and driving police cars that scare me. Now, I don't know if this man was one of them, but that's the concern that I have.
Right, and there's also some people out there that you don't know are having a gun and that are committing crimes and killing people that I'm more scared of. But I do know what you're saying about there are rogue police officers, but you can't pin that on every single one of them, because I know a lot of police officers, and most of them are good people, and they are brave men who go out every day and risk their lives for us. Now, there are some who are pretty much asses. We know that.
Well, I was thinking, he might have had... Now, my mother and I, we both went down and we filed a complaint against this man. I won't mention his name.
And that's what you should do. That's what you should do.
And we did, and it was, I'm sure, swept under the carpet because we never heard anything back from it. But in retrospect, I was thinking maybe he had been, just had been through with a bad day and maybe had to deal with some really awful situations. But all the same, I think it is asking a lot of our, men and women in blue to deal with this on a daily basis. I would love to be able to sit on the jury to hear all the information and find out. I sure hope if this was I hate to see a miscarriage of justice. From what I hear, what little I do know about, I think the man may well have been justified in in firing the shot, but I just don't know enough about it. But I do know that is an angle to consider. And
right. Well, we appreciate your call.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right now I want to tell you about HCG and the New Creations Weight Loss Clinic. I have lost 32 pounds, and I did it in 35 days with Dr. Schroeder's help, and I've never felt better. I can go in my closet and grab my clothes, any clothing that I want to wear now, and I'm actually going to be doing it again because I want to get about 20 more pounds off and be better than I've ever been. And so, because you can only do a little at a time, but I'm going to be doing that again, and I will let you take my journey with me on that, and I will be looking fabulous, and you can too. So you can call New Creations Weight Loss Clinic and at 501-791-6795. That's 501-791-6795, and you can be on your way to having, you still, think about it. It's just now June, right? It's June 22nd. Like, I don't know what day it is, but it's June 22nd. By July 22nd, you could be 30 pounds lighter. 30 pounds. The average is about 25 pounds in 20-some days, but I did the 35 days. You could be 30 pounds lighter. You got nothing to lose. Give them a call. New Creations Weight Loss, 501-791-6795. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Have you picked up your Crime Chronicle this week? Crime Chronicle is the Central Arkansas publication for crime-related news. Pick up your copy today at any convenience store or gas station near you. You can also find us on Facebook at www.facebook/Crime Chronicle.
Ladies, are any of these symptoms familiar? Weight gain, hot flashes, rapid heartbeat, night sweats. How about fatigue, nausea, low energy? Or what about sleeplessness, low libido, and fat storage, especially around the belly area? If you are a woman over 40 experiencing any of these symptoms, you probably have hormonal imbalance. And until you balance your hormones, it'll be practically impossible to get rid of these problems. But you're in luck, because Amberen is the all-natural formula clinically shown to cause weight loss in women over 40 with no big changes in lifestyle. Amberen restores hormonal balance in women over 40, so you can finally lose the weight. And all of the other menopause symptoms simply go away. To receive a complimentary risk-free trial with a free 30-day supply, just be one of the first callers right now at 1-800-875-7090. Free supplies are limited, so be one of the first callers right now at 1-800-875-7090. That's 1-800-875-7090.
Mom, I had the best dream.
Well, good morning to you, too.
Okay, so I was a knight. I had a sword, and our house was a castle. There was this angry dragon. It was kind of scary.
Oh, yeah?
But I protected the castle.
Oh, that's my brave little man. I'm glad our castle is safe.
Your home is your castle, and sometimes you need help defending it. The National Association of Realtors supports maintaining homeowner tax incentives because they make home ownership more affordable for more families. Learn more at houselogic.com.
Don's Weaponry has been taking care of sportsmen for over 20 years. At Don's, you have a huge selection of new and used pistols and rifles, police trade-ins, holsters, scopes, ammo, reloading supplies, magazines, and more. 6,000 square feet of inventory, including a 7-lane pistol range open 7 days a week. Smith & Wesson, Taurus, Ruger, Kimber, Springfield Armory, Glock, Walther, and more. Stop by Don's Weaponry, 4116 East Broadway in Rose City for everything the hunter and shooter needs.
Out of town, away from your radio? Catch up on what's happening on KARN News Radio via iHeartRadio, on your phone, online, or the all-new iPad app.
Hi, this is Val Emmons. Do you have a business? Are you part of a nonprofit? Do you want to reach tens of thousands of loyal and informed consumers? Well, advertising on this radio show is more effective and affordable than you could ever imagine. Please call me 870-897-7716 or email me ccvalemmons@gmail.com to learn how you can have your business or organization's message heard on Crime Chronicle Live. That number again is 870-897-7716. Give me a call today.
You're listening to Crime Chronicle Live with your host, Val Emmons.
And we're back, and we've got some more weather updates for you.
Yeah, I'm Mike Kemp in the KARN News Center. Just want to remind everyone there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Central Arkansas, Pulaski County, Central Pulaski County, and to be more specific, until 5 o'clock. At 4:36, National Weather Service Doppler radar continued to indicate a severe thunderstorm capable of producing some damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. Heavy rains are also possible. Power lines are reported down in some parts of West Little Rock. Storms located near West Little Rock moving north at about 10 miles per hour. We've also gotten one unconfirmed report that a home may have been struck by lightning in the Gravel Ridge area. Locations in the path of the severe thunderstorm include West Little Rock, Maumelle, Pinnacle Mountain, Chenal Valley, Burns Park, Natural Steps, and Kmac Village. Once again, it also includes Interstate 40 between mile markers 144 and 150, Interstate 430 between mile markers 4 and 12, and Interstate 630 between mile markers 4 and 7. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for central Pulaski County until 5 o'clock. Do stay tuned to KARN News Radio for the latest and most up-to-date weather information.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it, keeping us safe. All right, now we're going to go to Nancy in Little Rock. Nancy, you're on Crime Chronicle Live.
Hi, I was just wondering, do they think that Officer Hastings has been the only person that has ever fell asleep on the job?
Yeah, I know, right? I've passed a couple of police officers before that I've thought were sleeping. I was like, okay, good, you're not giving me a ticket, so you must be asleep. That's all right.
Oh, yeah, I think that, nobody is perfect in their job, but I feel he was totally justified in defending his life.
Well, thank you.
And doing like he did.
Yeah, I mean, we can't say what we would have done in that particular incident. Nobody can. Nobody was there. He was there. He did what he did. You can't really tell, like me and Mike were just talking about, the kid was probably revving up the engine. Now, whether he was going backwards or forward, maybe he was 15. He obviously didn't know how to drive that well.
Yeah.
So if he was going backwards and revving it up, then he could have thought they were coming at him. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios, but we don't know because we weren't there. Those two kids were there, and he was there. And those two kids were out committing crimes and have prior criminal records that, kind of outweigh Josh Hastings.
Yeah. What all was the prior criminal record for the child?
Well, I don't know that, but what I did find was that he was going to be tried that coming summer as an adult, and he was out on a $100,000 bond.
What is wrong with his parents?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my mom raised several kids, and one of them is in prison, and I'm not going to deny that. She did a good job with the rest of us, but, sometimes you get a bad egg.
I could tell you one thing. When I saw it on the news, Mama didn't have a tier 1. I didn't see one on any of the family. They like to do the drama, but doggone it, if I lost a child, you better believe I'd be crying. I'd be upset.
Yeah. Well,
and
I didn't see that.
A tier 1 on them.
I didn't see that, so I can't comment on that. But I appreciate you calling, Nancy.
All right, then. Thank you. Good
Stay
show.
dry. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We've got time for about one more call, 433-0092. But while I'm waiting, I want to talk about this. I'm going to read the story from the Gazette today because I think, I said this when this first came out, and I talked about this Forrest Abrams story where Daryl Dennis was released He was released hours before committing murder against Forrest Abrams. So I'm going to read this article from today's DMGAZ. So the Arkansas Board of Corrections announced new policies Friday to improve the monitoring and disciplining of parolees accused of new crimes or parole violations. The 6 mandates, which come in the aftermath of the agency's handling of an 8-time absconder recently charged with capital murder, range from better documentation of requests or denials for revocation hearings to requiring automatic revocation hearings for parolees who accrue new felony charges. Now, what I want to know, and you can read that article in Arkansas DMGAZ. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I don't have time. But what I want to know is they saw this guy's records right in front of him, and they signed off on it for him to be released. I mean, and send him out on the world. When he had absconding means you disappear, you're gone, you take off, they never see you, you don't report to your parole officer, lots of different things. But it's absolutely insane that this man was let go, and for them to no one wants to take the walk of shame on this one. They're all passing it off and saying, no, they told me to do it. Nope, we did what we were supposed to do. But didn't you look and question that? I'm sorry, I would have questioned that. Now we've got 3 callers on the line we're going to get to before we have to get off of here. So I've got Toby in Little Rock. Toby, you're on the air. Toby?
Oh, hello.
Hey, Toby. You got about 60 seconds.
Yeah, I just am like everybody else. I'm shocked at the record. It just doesn't make sense. And
for which one? The Hastings trial?
About the criminal record on this kid.
Yeah.
And I really think hopefully it'll be an acquittal because this officer deserves more than what he's been given. To me, he's really had to fight an uphill battle, and I don't know what the strategy was about the police station not backing him, but it's just a crying shame, and I think it's going to set up some bad repercussions in the future.
Well, I mean, think about it. Anytime somebody gets shot because they're committing a crime, they're going to come back and sue them.
Right.
I mean, it sets precedent. You're right. Now,
Yeah.
I've got to get to the next caller, Toby. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce from Center Ridge, you are on Crime Chronicle.
Yes, ma'am. About that there cop shooting that kid, you know, they didn't have any business out that late at night.
I know it.
And so when you see something like that and something going on, well, you know, you have a right to defend yourself.
I mean, I would defend myself.
Yes. So.
I mean, I'm sorry that this child died. No child should die.
No, I'm sorry about that too.
Right.
But the kid shouldn't even have been out there that time at night. That young of a kid.
I know it.
And so when that stuff like that happens, then everybody cries. Well, you know,
this is
keep
what
your
those
kids
things
at home at night,
That's
and
right.
you won't have that problem.
Well, I mean, and if you go out and do these kind of things, these are the kind of things that happen.
Yes, that's right, and you have to pay the consequences.
That's right.
But I don't think the officer ought to be charged for it because he was just doing his job.
Thank you, Joyce.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we're going to get to Ivy in Pine Bluff. Ivy, how are you? You've got about 60 seconds.
Yes, ma'am. I said yes. That's true. Then he's right. He done what's right. Then that judge, we need to get rid of that judge to get another one or something.
Yeah, I mean, you got to let that kind of information it's so telling about the suspects, and then you're going to believe the two suspects that were in the car committing the crime that had those things in with them.
Right. Can we replace the judge? Can he be replaced?
Well, I think if they acquit, then he could request a change of venue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be tried which is what I think they should have done to begin with.
Right. We need to fight crime. Period. I don't care who it is. Right.
Well, thank you, Ivy.
Right.
You stay dry. Thanks for listening.
All
right. Well, we let's see. Well, we might have time for if you want to give us a call 433-0092. We got about 2 minutes left before we have to. Boy, today went by fast. I was hoping that they would give us the verdict before the show was over today, so I could let you have that. But obviously, it's not going to happen. Usually, they don't do jury deliberations on Saturdays. This was unusual just because it ran over so much that they wanted to get it done. But also, another thing is that yesterday, the NSA, I'm sorry, not the NSA, but the United States pressed charges against Edward Snowden in regards to they charged him with espionage. And so we'll see. We're going to look at that next Saturday and see how that's going because I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Barack Obama has charged like 7 people under this when there was only 3 since 1917. He's charged 7 people with this under the Espionage Act. And, I'm going to leave you with this. President George Washington, in his farewell address, said to the American people, "A fire not to be quenched. The government demand a uniform vigilance to prevent its bursting into a flame, lest instead of warning, it should consume." According to the Heritage Foundation, sober George Washington daringly made his farewell address in an open letter of advice and warning to the American people about their long-term safety and happiness. For a great leader to voluntarily relinquish political power and retire from public life, it itself unprecedented in the annals of history. I'm sorry, I can't read that. An act that contributed to the establishment of Republican government in America. But his words on this occasion were no less cherished, for as his biographer and Chief Justice John Marshall put it, "Precepts to which the American statesman cannot too frequently recur, with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, the farewell address constitutes the central statement of the American purpose." Washington warned of the dangers facing the young republic, chiefly from internal faction and foreign dangers, but he also hailed the greatness that could come from the unity founded on necessity and prosperity. So just remember, if we don't keep that fire of a government tamed, it's going to get out of control. Get off your couch, do something, but keep yourself safe in the process. See you next week.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. A ruling that favors gunman George Zimmerman has been made by the judge in the Trayvon Martin fatal shooting trial. She will not allow testimony from audio experts about whose voice is screaming on a 911 call. Prosecution experts were expected to say it was Martin. ABC News legal analyst Royal Oakes has just weighed in.
The court's ruling takes an enormous weapon out of the government's hands. The DA's expert